Honorable Chairperson, let me begin with thanking Professor Arvind Kumar and Professor Manipal sir bringing me into this auspicious university and sharing my ideas, whatever the feeble ideas that I have. And when the topic was given to me by Professor Arvind sir, I really thought of what do soft power and cultural diplomacy would be effective as a channel of getting through the objectives of foreign policy, and how can it could be seen that the conduct of foreign policy is being achieved by soft power, as just now Ambassador Sood talked of. There are various notions of having diplomacy. There is a traditional diplomacy which have been seen, and when we talk of cultural relations, the question that immediately arises into the mindset that what exactly is the soft power and culture that people talk so much about, and why is people right now talking of India taking the range of important why is now the talk is being taken on to India's soft power? Whether India has certainly done something different, and then when you find that what has happened with the India for the last 60 years, and you find that India has emerged as an not as a superpower or as a dominant actor, but a very important actor into international politics, and it has grown onto as an important actor from the economic growth, from the military expansion that it has naval expansion, it has been having the space expansion, it has been having the land expansion. So it tries to tell you that that there's a strong component of demographic evolution which is also happening, and thereby you suddenly see that India is taking a center figure with respect to the as a major actor. And when you try to see what is a cultural diplomacy, and it's a ability to share its culture, and what kind of culture we are talking of through music, sharing technologies, sharing knowledge, sharing food, sharing capacities, sharing training, and all this which is building the state's persuasiveness through building. It is really difficult to determine India's actual soft power resources, or what of these resources have actually helped strong India's global status, and thereby now you see whether one sees these nations being intimately molded by the impulse that initially starts a civilization going on its long path, and thereby you see that it's a situation. Like, for example, you can very well say that in one of the excerpts of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, when he wrote onto his biography, he also mentions that India was a land where a lot of Arabs, lot of Mongols, lot of Central Asian people came down to India to see what is happening to this particular part of the world, and then going back to taking a voyage towards Middle East, towards West, and that is how we have so many new traditions, new cultures that has built on a lot of histories, and thereby now we often see that the culture of India is not in the old days was affected greatly, as we see our own literature by the Himalayas, the forest, the great rivers of India, among other things. it was a natural growth from the soil of the various domains of culture like architecture, music, literature, and thereby together as they often did and produce a happy combination. And that's a reason why we have to see that India's foreign policy ought to achieve peace and harmony through a permanent dialogue with other nations. And Nehru viewed the modern world as an integrated entity with all its regions closely united within one another. And thereby now you also happen to see what cultural diplomacy is. And thereby you see it's a multifaceted policy through where information is being used to connect people. It is being advocated by various nations, and according to Willy Brandt, where he says that cultural diplomacy becomes the third pillar of the foreign policy, and thereby you see there's a changes that are happening with respect to the foreign policy also. There are different literatures, films, performances, visual arts, and thereby you see that this is what was initially constructed during the independent time, that Nehru's ideas of dialogue among cultures, not just as an aim in foreign policy making, but also as an indispensable condition for managing and solving political and communal tensions in third world. And thereby you see the importance of culture was thrown off. Now if you slightly see what hard power is, like how Ambassador Suz also talked of, like whether economics also brings in lot of hard power. Like just to remind our own conditions into the world, that even if India disposed or India exploded the first atom bomb in '74, but we still told the world that we will not be the first user, and thereby, although we were onto what made hard power, that it's a military force, it's economic sanctions, coercive diplomacy, which contribute to the hard power, and thereby if you again further see why hard power is being today considered as the ability to get others to do what they otherwise would not do through threats or rewards, whether by economic carrots or military stakes. The ability to coax or pose has long been the central element of power, and the same if you look on the definition of the soft power and how it is being defined by Joseph Nayer's idea that it's an ability to achieve goals through attraction rather than coercion. It works by convincing others to follow or getting them to agree to norms and instruments that produce the desired behavior. And thereby you also see that he really talks of co-optive power, the ability of a nation to structure a situation so that other nations develop preferences or define their interests in ways consistent with one nation's cultural and ideological attraction as well as the rules of institutions and ideas. Thereby you see the software can rest an appeal of one's ideas or culture and depends largely on the persuasiveness of the free information that an actor seeks to transmit. If a state can do, it may need to expand as many costly traditional economic or military resources. So it does not require much if the state adopts these kinds of soft policy. And thereby if you say it gets further disseminated into soft power. One is cultural diplomacy. The other is how you project your state, or what the word is being used to just broadcasting. It's a short-term view and it's a long-term view. And thereby you further see that India's foreign policy ought to achieve peace and harmony through permanent dialogues and with other nations and protect the old methods of power politics in international relations. And that was right from beginning. Nehru had been rejecting the idea of having states or states pulling the weaker states, and thereby now you see that These are some of the ways where soft power becomes more important to be shown onto the, and how can a state develop into this particular line of soft power, that it can begin with the nation branding. What do you mean by nation branding is basically identified as a useful tool to counter negative stereotypes. And what do you mean by what do you mean by negative stereotyping? Is basically if a state opens up for tourism, if it opens up to promote trade and environment, it establishes regular trades, it establishes a facility for exchange of information, exchange of knowledge, and improve interstate relations, and thereby this builds a foundation for economic, political, and cultural relations among states. And thereby you see according to Nehru, culture is the widening of the mindset, and not a state which depended necessarily upon the material condition of life. Culture is mental and spiritual dynamic which give birth to the understanding of others. Thereby now you now see how when you look onto India onto various fronts, like India has been a country with various religions, with various diversities, like around 500 dialects which has been spoken in this particular region. Again, the maritime culture, like we don't give a lot of importance. Like the same Indian Ocean also rushes to the different states. The number of states goes around 80 to 80, more than 80 states whereby Indian Ocean waters are touching, and thereby you see the whole gambit of coastal region has people of Indian origin, has people of Indian diaspora, and thereby now if you see the importance of Indian diaspora as it has brought economic, financial, and global benefit to India, the government has initiated a number of programs focusing on the outreach to Indians abroad. And thereby you see further you see that if you look on to the historical advantages that happen to be immediately after the independence, like if you look on to the prism of the soft power, non-aligned policy was also one of the advantage that happened to inspire the Indian state, the Indian leaders, and thereby you see according to Nehru, true culture derives its inspiration from every corner of the world, but it is homegrown and has to be based on the wide mass of the people. And thereby now you see that in India is not in just one corner. It has to be seen that each portion of India becomes into a mainstream, and thereby you have a lot of cultural linkage and cooperation between nations and people which are more important. And thereby you see during the Cold War, this was not being seen on a wider spectra, but after 1990s you happen to see changes coming up in a large way, and India's relations with the world which improved, like right from US to the neighboring states, which was most openly which was happening, and thereby the government started taking care. After 1990s, you will see that the public opinion abroad affects Indian interest, and in a number of ways, foreign public opinion, whether positive or negative, has consequences for Indian commerce, for counter-terrorism, and for the safety of the Indian people. And that's the reason why you see after the present government taking charge, the idealism has been replaced with pragmatism. The major thrust for fostering better trade and economic relations, and at the political level through public and cultural diplomacy, that No India program, and No India program also has been making efforts to say, or efforts to give disseminate lot of knowledge of the country. The annual Pravasi Bharati Divas, which is being for the last 7 to 8 years, which is regularly happening, has given a very big very big idea which is in flow. Like even brand India image as a part of his outreach to a global audience, and at last the Make in India program which has a big idea which has been flown. And now you come on to in the conduct of our policy priorities, you have a very big space to be given to Indian diaspora. Like there are huge number of 30 million plus people spread across 120 countries. Like you have non-resident Indians, you have persons of Indian origin. They cover practically every part of the Indian Ocean region. And again, the migration which has happened far flung coast of the Indian Ocean region, and indentured laborers by the British to South Africa to Kenya in 19th, 20th centuries, and thereby you also have to see that maritime India has been effective into playing a wider role. You also see that there's a very strong effect that is happening onto the wider diaspora. What kind of role that they are operating. Professions provide technical skills and expertise. Like how in the morning it was said that India has been one of the third C into the capacity building country, and thereby everybody is looking towards India. And you also have to take a note of that decision makers in their respective countries are looking towards India or the Indian government and in key non-government sectors, and thereby that image of India is improving, and thereby you see there are a lot of associations also happening with regional rationals, and thereby you see the whole world is coming into the mini Indias across the world, and thereby you see the soft power is very much positively playing a much wider role. If you look onto the cultural diplomacy part, what are the instruments, important instruments which are being seen into this cultural engagements, and there you see that there's a Indian Cultural Center which plays a much wider role in West Asia, in Southeast Asia, in even certain European universities we have been having a lot of centers, and thereby you see those in major European capitals like in Europe, in Russia, there are huge, like from our the center in Center Eurasian Studies and African Studies, they come up with a lot of alumni coming from different parts of the world, accepting the capacity of the Indian Ocean people, and those in the newly given republics of the former Soviet Union like Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan. There are also a lot of centers which have been established by the ICCR, and thereby they have been playing a much wider role in building India's image into these countries. Thereby you also happen to see a lot of cultural agreements which are also happening. There are more than 121 cultural agreements which have been flown, and this ICCR are essentially concerned with implementation of regular procedure of these agreements and exchange programs, and thereby you see that there are a lot of branding that is happening of the Indian image, and thereby how this particular software is also playing a role. There are smaller things which are happening, like festivals in India which are also being observed outside in far-flung countries, and thereby the images which are happening internally are being seen in outside. They are showcasing that once great India, a country founded on an old civilization, and there's a lot of cultural group performance and artist performance which are being exhibited, and thereby you see the national interest becomes the main driver of the foreign policy, and this thereby although you would not be seeing the immediate effect, but there are long-term effects which are taking place with respect to the facilities which are being given by different departments of like ICCR. Even MAKAIAS has also begun with a lot of activities into outreach front. There are other departments which are flown into different, like even Indian universities have established their centers and to disseminate the Indian knowledge and traditions. Thereby you also see that there's a major annual event that encourages the involvement of the diaspora community in the development of their homeland. And this event involves a number of activities bringing together representatives from around the world. And you further if you see that this No India program has been hosted by the Ministry of Overseas, which also looks after a lot of internship programs for students, for the Indian origin people to visit India and share their views, expectations, and experiences. And thereby, you have a lot of activities which are happening, in order to showcase the opportunities made by the Indian people. This is again a very important aspect of the Indian diaspora. Like again, there are huge diversity into Indian society, and the different groups and cults in the Indian religion. Some of them have their presence in different countries, and they have been practicing religions in our country, and thereby you see that this also gives an added advantage into states. Like there are a lot of lectures that has happened in history, and it has also taken place in the present times, like Swami Vivekananda's historical speeches, the impact of Osho Rajneesh, the impact of Sri Ravi Shankar, who has been regularly, and there are a lot of acharyas who are also branding Indian soft power, and this emphasis on spiritualism rather than on religion per se, or yoga as one of the practice which can be done for a better life, vegetarian food, meditation, mental peace is being used as on a wider spectrum, and thereby you see that it is not only the state which is imposing as a country with a lot of diversities, but there are also other activities which are happening within state, which gives you a slight idea of understanding. Like two months back, we had a program on ISIS, Islamic State, and thereby there was a journalist who said that he was actually caught by some terrorist groups in Iraq, and he had no other idea how to go about, and thereby it was like when he spoke to those terrorists, he said they did not understand his language, and he just uttered Hindustani, India. They were, and the terrorists were were so homogeneous. They started Atla, Amitabh Bachchan, and that way the brand of the Indian Bollywood, the films which has influenced influence the people. Thereby, you also see the Indian fashion, which is again going on further to give an idea. Like look at the kind of Indian cuisines that they are also making, also branding the Indian status into the different societies in Southeast Asia, in West Asia, the music, dance, and the Indian literature. And this is again the most important area where India is advancing with respect to the government status into government contact. That's a public diplomacy in the information age. Indian diplomacy has to exploit systems and active communication tools such as Twitter, blogs, Facebook, etc. That are symbols, and it's happening in a big way. It is thus the time that Indian diplomacy took up public diplomacy, its tool, and thereby you see in order to conclude, public diplomacy is not traditional. Traditional diplomacy is the conduct of official business between the government. Public diplomacy deals with general public and especially with the opinion leaders, media, universities, students, intellectuals, cultural personnel. Public diplomacy is open and unclassified. That's again very important. Public diplomats and public diplomacy have the formal responsibility of representing Indians abroad. And while concluding, the basic rule in public diplomacy is to tell the truth, and the truth indicates that Indian traditions require to be truthful. But the most important reason is that to be persuasive, of Indianness or Indian culture, we must be believable. To be believable, we must be credible. And to be credible, we must be again truthful. And thereby, if we want to tap soft power through the use of modern information and communication tools, that Indian diplomacy can liberate its Indian culture and citizenship, which dates back to thousands of years, and tap all available resources and seek ways of projecting India's soft power. This is how leveraging soft power and cultural diplomacy is a key for India's foreign policy. Thank you.